Okay, so we are live as well. Being a small group, we necessarily don't have to go on YouTube, but the thing is, we want all that we teach to be live and available to all our devotees and to all our children and their parents. And hence, this is something that is needed. So now let me share my screen and I'll start the class. So it was nice that all of you participated today in the Kirtan. So I'm happy. Let me put this screen up for today's classes and yeah, can you see my screen? Can you just raise your hand on chat, please? Can you see my screen? Oh, great. Thank you, Supreet. Thank you, Shivani ji. Thank you so much. Okay, great. Okay, so today, this is the chapters are something that you all know very well. So I want it to be very participative. And let's go through a process of participation and discussion and your own understanding of what these stories are, particularly the morals. All our stories from the scriptures are also moral based. These are all things that have been come about through the experiences of our forefathers, and these were all millions and millions of years ago. This is not yesterday or day before or recent times, right? So therefore, they always say that history should never be forgotten. So the more you kind of, learn from these and apply it to your own lives, I think it's going to really, really improve or bring about huge changes in your own life. That's only going to be good and nothing else. Okay. So here is the shloka number 2.12. I think last time there was a 2.13 that was all shared with you all, or rather it was given to you as your homework. I'm going to unmute all of you. I'm going to go to also unmute all of you. All of you can unmute yourselves. So there was shloka 2.13. Do you recall that?
Yeah, but I haven't memorized.
You haven't memorized? You have your book with you?
What shloka was it again?
It was 2.13. Does anyone else remember? 2.13. Okay, we'll come to 2.13. So let me start with 2.12. This chapter is a very significant chapter. Do you know what's the significance of chapter 2 in the Bhagavad Gita? All of you attended the Bhagavad Gita classes for 18 days? Did you?
Yes.
Yeah. So what is the significance? What is the chapter 2 called? What is the name of the chapter 2?
Sankhya Yoga.
Sankhya Yoga. Yes. And what is the significance of Sankhya Yoga?
Okay. Knowledge.
Yes, it's a knowledge, but what's the significance?
That you're not the body and you're the soul.
Excellent. That comes in the from shloka 11 onwards, where Sri Bhagavan speaks, and and that's where really the real essence of the Bhagavad Gita is going to begin. But chapter 2 essentially is a summary of the entire Gita. Okay, it's often spoken as the summary of the Gita, because we will see what is going to come about in the other 16 chapters through chapter 2. Chapter 2 gives you a glimpse of what the Bhagavad Gita, the 18 chapters, are going to be all like. Okay, and the Bhagavad Gita, and we also see in chapter 2, the Bhagavad Gita sets in the subject matters that are going to be discussed in rest of the chapters. Do you know what the subject matters of the Bhagavad Gita are? What are the 5 subject or the 5 aspects that the Bhagavad Gita focuses on? What do you know?
The Supreme Personality of Godhead?
Yes, that's Ishvara. It's called Ishvara. It said Ishvara.
Prakriti.
Prakriti is nature. Excellent. And then?
Living
Kala.
entity. Living
Jiva.
entity.
Yes, Jiva, the soul. And someone said
Kala.
Kala. Yes, Kala.
Karma.
Karma.
Time.
Yes, excellent. These are the 5 subjects or the 5 aspects that we will constantly touch upon as part of the various things Lord Purushottama, Lord Sri Krishna, Lord Sri Vishnu is going to constantly remind us about. Okay, so it's excellent. I'm happy that all of you recall these lessons. And okay, now in chapter 2. Who does anyone know 2.12, the shloka 2.12? Does anybody know? This is the shloka. Okay. Somebody knows?
Mataji Kanishkano.
Kanishka, can you read it? Do you know? Do you know the shloka?
I have Bhagavad Gita book, Mataji.
Okay, you want to read? Why don't you try?
Okay, Mataji. Natve jadunasam natvam neme janati ba nasaiva pisham shyama sarve vashayamata param.
Na. Okay, you know the pronunciation is very important, and I know that you have this book, so ensure that you're using the right pronunciation. Kanishka, it's a good attempt. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Natvam evaham jatu nasham natvam neme janadipah na chaiva na bhavishyamah sarve vayam ataha param. What does this mean? So in the beginning, if you really notice, Arjuna is completely confused and he refuses to take up arms and fight in the battle. And you would also know that Arjuna is a Kshatriya and he's one of the finest of the archers and the finest of the Kshatriyas that the Pandava army has. And even he's one of the finest of the Kshatriyas of his times, whether it was between the Kauravas or any other armies in the world at that time. And he refuses to fight. And what should he actually have been doing? Would you know? He being a Kshatriya.
Fighting.
Exactly. He should have taken up. There was a cause for which they were fighting there. They'd all assembled for what? What had they all assembled there for?
Fighting.
For fighting. Fighting for what?
Peace.
Kingdom.
The world.
Yes, for the kingdom and as well as for all the wrongs that was done upon them. You know the number of things that the Kauravas inflicted upon the Pandavas. This was basically for their rights. And despite being highly humble and asking for basic of 5 villages, the Kauravas refused to give them even a space that was befitting a pin. That's what Duryodhana said. Right? So he was unwilling to fight. And here is Krishna, who's a charioteer for Arjuna. He was a Sarathi. Krishna, the Partha Sarathi, was a Sarathi of his friend, Pratha, Arjuna. And he refuses to fight. And 2.11 onwards, we see the Bhagavan speaking about the various aspects of our lives and what it means for us to be doing our duties and fulfilling our responsibilities. What a great coach, what a great teacher Lord Krishna was. So in this shloka, he says, never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. Very, very significant. He makes it very clear in the very beginning that everything that we see around us is temporary. It's not permanent. Nothing is eternal in this world. And he also points out that never was a time when I did. He says he is Satchitanand. What's the meaning of Satchitananda?
True happiness.
Yeah. Anything else? Satchitanand. What is Satchit Anand? Satchit Anand is broken up into three. Sat. Sat is eternal. God is eternal. Chid. Chid is full of knowledge. And Ananda is the ocean of bliss. So Satchit Anand, he is the Satchit Anand, he says. And we are also, in a way, he's saying, you are also someone eternal. And this is where the quality of or the characteristic of a soul comes about. He says, even the soul is eternal. But the only part is the soul gets entangled or embodied with the various gunas. So do you recall the gunas in the Prakriti? What are the three gunas of the Prakriti?
Sattva guna,
Passion,
Rajoguna, Tamo guna.
ignorance,
So excellent. Okay. Sattva guna is mode of goodness. Rajoguna,
Rajoguna,
passion,
passion,
yes,
and Tamo guna is
ignorance.
ignorance.
Mode of ignorance.
excellent. So that's what he says. He says, look, I'm always Satchitanand. I'm always eternal. And so is the soul. Soul of all the jivas. And you know how many species are there in the world? What is-
84 lakhs.
Exactly. All the 84 lakhs has a soul. And this soul is also eternal because it goes through the various cycles of birth and death. Right? So he tries to impress upon him. So go on, do your duty. You are the Kshatriya, you are a soldier. Okay, he doesn't say that in so many words, but he brings out the subtle aspects of himself and as well as the various jivatmas. We're all jivatma. And we all belong to the Paramatma. Okay. Okay. So before that, I also want us to go to the 2.13, which was given to you as the homework.
Mataji, could I recite that one?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yavvanam jara tata dehantara praptir dhirastatra namuyati.
Excellent. Thank you so much. You said it very well. And this is an important shloka, the 2.13. Please do keep it in your memory. It's a great shloka. And try and read it as and when you get time. It's absolutely a fabulous one. It reminds us of who we are and what we are and what we are supposed to be doing in this world. Because we have got a great opportunity. And this opportunity should not be missed. It comes to a few people. And it comes to a few people. Why? Because you're the chosen one and we are the chosen one. So remember that. So God has something in store for you. So try and take in, absorb as much as you can from the Bhagavad Gita. There's nothing more that you need to look beyond. Just take in as much as you can. And if you live your life as per the various instructions and as per the various things that are prescribed or even told to us in the Bhagavad Gita, I think your life, our life, is going to become extraordinary. Because when your life or my life becomes extraordinary, I'm going to make everything around me extraordinary. Okay, that is why the Bhagavad Gita holds such an important place in all the scriptures of the world. Okay, so what does he say here? What is the meaning? Does anyone know what this meaning is? Would you know what the meaning of this shloka is? 2.13.
Yes. Can I?
Yes, as embodied soul continues.
Just as like the embodied soul passes through your different stages, it also passes into a different body after you die.
Yeah.
And a person who's wise is not surprised by this.
Excellent. Extraordinary. What's your good name?
Shivani.
Oh, great, Shivali. Excellent. So this is what it means. A person who's self-realized would never be really disillusioned or will never get worried about the various things that happens to him or her. He or she will look out for ways and means of ensuring that they pass through all these problems and all these issues that come about in using their intellect. Intellect is very important. Very often we work from the manas or the mind. So what God says is use your intelligence. He's trying to awaken the intelligence of Arjuna. Arjuna right now, he's actually an intelligent man because he has actually learned a lot of things and he's acquired a lot of powers, lot of yuktis and siddhis, okay, through the prowess of his intelligence. But right now, right here, he's working from his basic aspect of the mind, which even an animal does. He's not using his intellect. So the Lord is trying to goad him, telling him, hey, come on, we have a big task ahead of us. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Shivani. Now here's a small story of a foolish tree. This again is something is moral based. So let's see what is the story of this foolish tree. So somebody wants to read it?
Me?
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead. Read the whole story, okay, one by one. So you continue reading it as I play the slide. Yeah, the first slide. Yeah.
But long ago in a forest, there were two huge trees. Many wild animals lived in its shade.
Yep.
The wild animals, for their food, killed other smaller animals. They left carcasses behind, which caused a foul stench all around.
Yeah. Very bad. So what's happening? Yeah. So what's the first tree saying?
The foolish tree is saying, I'll do it. I'll drive them away. And the other tree is thinking, oh, my friend, you don't know what you are doing.
Exactly. Yeah. Nice.
One night there was a strong breeze.
Yeah.
This is the chance for me.
Mm-hmm. That's what the first tree is thinking. Yeah.
The tree shook itself vigorously, making loud sound
Yeah.
that awakened the animals sleeping beneath the tree. The animals ran away of fear.
Yeah.
Soon the area became clean and the air became fresh.
Okay. So let's stop here for a moment. What happens, whenever there is something that's going around us and we don't like it because it doesn't suit us, what do we do?
Try to make it go away.
Yeah, try to make it go away. And if it is something like what these two trees are experiencing, we try to kind of eliminate it from our lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we just want things all for ourselves. When the neighborhood is unclean, what do?
Clean it.
Clean it, yes. And what else do we do?
Complain.
Complain. And then sometimes we also put up fence across. Okay. But little do we realize that, in this world, these things are something that happens. And whatever we do, we must keep in mind that the space, the Prakriti belongs to all of to people more than us. Okay? And especially here, these are all nature. The trees need the animals. The animals need the trees because they can't build, houses and homes like us. So they need the shade of the tree. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go ahead. What happened?
After some day, a cowherd passed that way following his cow. Come back, you naughty.
Yeah.
Come back, you naughty calf. The tiger will eat you up. Following the calf, the villager entered into the forest. While searching his calf, he thought, there's not a single footprint of any wild animals. The next day, he came with his family members to show his newly discovered property. They found that the land was very good for cultivation. Have you listened to what they are planning? Yes, it is very sad. Therefore, I had told you not to drive out the beasts. I think these trees will make obstacle for plowing. Yes, you are right. We must cut these huge trees. Gradually, all the trees were cut.
Look at that. Yeah.
Including the two big trees. Moral: better to tolerate some inconvenience in this material world.
Yeah. So this has to be taken contextually. Okay. So whenever there are, these minor issues, yes, there will be ups and downs in our life. We shouldn't get bogged down by them or give up and say, hey, is this what life is all about? I don't like this life. I don't like all these things around me. I don't like the people that I'm working with, or I don't like the people that I'm living with. No, there are these minor inconveniences that will come about. It doesn't mean that we should give up because there is a certain test that is happening, And we need to ensure that we overcome those kind of tests that come around us every now and then. There are going to be some kind of problems or some kind of issues or challenges that will come about every day in our lives. And that should not chicken us out. That should not, make us lose faith in the higher ideals that are standing there before us. We should constantly focus and concentrate on things that are yet to come, things that will make us be better, things that will help us not only to become better, but also to be better, to ensure that we make things that are better for people around us. And maybe some of you, as you grow older, will probably begin to make a lot of things that will affect people around you. Many of you probably will go on to taking up professions that will bring about changes in the respective specialities that you take up. And some of you may go on to be joining the politics of nations. And that will bring about huge changes for all the people around in the world. And when you go by step, understanding the principles that are there in the Bhagavad Gita, you will definitely be a good professional in your chosen field of specialty. And that is definitely a truthful aspect, because every big person in this world has been a student of the Bhagavad Gita. And they say that it made huge differences to everything that they did in their respective chosen professions. Okay. So let's go to that. So moral, better to tolerate some inconvenience in this material. Maybe it's possible as students right now, there could be a day when your bus was late, or there could be a day when you were late to take the bus, but it's okay. Don't lose heart. Don't let negativity creep into you. Just remain sturdy, remain positive. Okay, fine, it's okay. Today I got late for the bus. Tomorrow I shall not be. Try and learn from that inconvenience that you faced, rather than getting pulled down by the inconvenience. Okay. Okay, here's a story of Dhruva Maharaj. So maybe we have how many participants? We have a lot of participants. We have 12 participants. So one by one, may I request Advait? Advait?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have to read this.
Yeah. Yes, yes, Advait.
Dhruva Maharaj was the son of King Uttanapada.
Yeah.
Once Dhruva Maharaj was trying to get on the lap of his father.
Yes. So, Uttanapada was the king. This Dhruva Maharaj story goes back to the Satya Yuga. That we have the 4 yugas, right? Would you know the names of the 4 yugas?
Yes. Satya
Kali Yuga,
Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali
Yoga
Yuga.
Yuga.
Very good. So, in which yuga was the Ram avatar of Lord Shiva?
Treta Yuga.
Treta Yuga.
And the Krishna avatar?
Dwapara.
Excellent.
Dwapara Yuga.
Excellent. So right now we are in the Kali Yuga. So this story goes back to the Satya Yuga, where people were very healthy, where people lived for long, long years. Okay. And people were typically good. It was not a yuga which had too many bad influences that we see in the subsequent yugas, and particularly now in the Kali Yuga, right? So the king Uttanapada had 2 queens. Would you know the names of the 2 queens? Who knows? I think this was covered as part of the story in the Bhagavad Gita sessions. You remember? Okay, no problem. Uttanapada had 2 queens, Suniti and Suruchi. Suruchi had a son called Uttama, and Dhruva was the son of Suniti. The king somehow did not like Suniti, and he liked his other queen, Suruchi. And therefore, he was very kind to her and to his son. And because he never liked Suniti, he also did not like Dhruva. And particularly because Suruchi, the king's second wife, did not like Suniti or Dhruva. And therefore, the influence of Suruchi was on the king Uttanapada. So one day, when the king was sitting on his asan or on his throne, Uttama was on one of his laps. Obviously, Dhruva was also a little boy. He came hopping into the palace. He saw his father. So obviously, all of us as children, we love our parents. And when you see one of your own brothers or sister on your parents' laps or playing with your parents, you'd also want to do the same thing. So it was natural for Dhruva to go run up to the father and say, "Hey, father, I want to sit on your lap." Okay, let's see what happens after this. I want Advik Kamath to read this. Yeah, Advik?
Hello?
Yeah, Advik?
Surushi?
Ah.
Hello?
Yeah, read, Advik.
Surushi, his
Stepmother
became very
En-
envious of him and said that he was not qualified to sit on his father's lap.
Exactly. So Suruchi, the stepmother, she's not that nice a lady. She has a lot of ego, right? Ahankara. So because the king likes her more and her son better, so she doesn't like it. She says, "Oh my God, why is this boy coming and sitting on Uttama's father's lap?" She tells him, "You're not qualified." Why is he not qualified? Would you know? Why does she say you're not qualified? Anybody knows why is he not qualified?
Because she doesn't want him to become king.
Yeah, one is that, but anything else?
He's not her son.
Her son, exactly. He's not her son, therefore she's like, "You're not qualified. If you were my son, yes, you would have been qualified. But you're not my son, so you're not qualified." So can I have the person reading it? Hanshita, can you read this line? Hanshita.
Mataji.
Hare
Dhruva
Krishna.
Maharaj became very angry because of the strong words of his stepmother.
Yeah. So Dhruva is a young boy, and his mind has got no evil, and he is all small children. We're all born good, right? So he was also born good like everyone else, and therefore he says he was bewildered. He was completely taken aback. He says, "What is this? Isn't the king Uttanapada my father too? Don't I have the right as much as anyone else as a child would have on his parent? Why is it that I am being refused? Or why is it I am being pushed away by my own father?" He walks away, and let's see what happens. Yes. Can I have Kartika? Can you read?
He immediately went to his mother, who also advised him to worship the Supreme Lord by going into the forest. On his way into the forest, Dhruva met Narada Muni.
Yes. Okay. So this is clear. So you went ran to his mother, which we always do when we get when we don't get what we want, or when we are pushed into something, or when we are unhappy. We always run to one of the parents who we think will give us the right advice and the right direction. So similarly here, Dhruva obviously did not have his father's love for him. So he went to his mother. He says, "Hey, Amma, what do I do? This is what has happened to me. I was pushed away." So the mom says, "Hey, son, there's only one person who can help all of us, and that is Lord Vishnu. And you need to pray to him to really ensure that you get what you want. And he's a great friend. He never lets go of his devotees." And she just tells him the simple word, which is what we are also trying to tell you, right? But in those days, when people had to really do a lot of yagnas and sacrifices and, pray to God, they went to the forest, they went to a secluded place, and they meditated upon the Lord, following the various processes of the Ashtanga Yoga, which you have all studied. I'll get to that in a little bit from now. But, so Dhruva did that. But in our yoga, we don't have to do all that. Do you know the secret? What is the secret weapon for us in this yoga?
Chanting Hare Krishna.
Exactly. The Mahamantra is the biggest weapon that we all have. So try and chant this mantra as often as you can and whenever you want to. And there's no specific time except when you're watching television or when you're doing something else or when you're sleeping or when you're lying on the bed. Those are the kind of restrictions that you have. But otherwise, you can absolutely, chant the Maha Mantra whenever you want. So chant the Maha Mantra. It gives you a lot of relief, or it gives you the power to focus and concentrate on any issues that you have. Okay. So let's go to the next slide. So he goes to the forest. He starts, his journey to the forest, and on the way he meets with Narada Muni. Narada Muni, as all of you know, he's the ambassador and he's the representative of Lord Vishnu. And wherever there's a devotee, you will always find Narada Muni approaching them, guiding them, and helping them. So let's see what Narada Muni does when he meets with Dhruva on the way. Okay, who will read now? Shivani. Shivani, I think Shivani, you've said a lot of things. So let me go to somebody else. Shivani?
Can I read?
Yes.
I never read.
Yeah, who's that?
Supreet.
Supreet, pado.
Dhruva told Narada Muni of his desire to achieve a kingdom more exalted than his father and grandfather. Narada Muni tried to dissuade Dhruva, but then seeing his determination, he instructed Dhruva.
Yeah. So, when Dhruva saw, told Narada Muni about his quest, because he was, what is Dhruva doing here? He says he's expressing his desire to achieve a kingdom. So in which mode of guna is he in?
Rajoguna?
Yeah, so
Rajoguna.
he's the Rajoguna. Okay, he's the mode of passion. He says, look, I want to get this kingdom. And remember, Rajoguna is not bad as what we have read. But the only thing is when you take Rajoguna to a very, very, you push it hard and you kind of, you are likely to slip into the mode of ignorance. And that's what is happening here. You will see that in a moment. Okay. So he says, I want to get this kingdom. My father has denied me his right. I too wanted to sit on his lap when he was sitting on the throne. And I have been denied my right because I am also the son of my father. He says, I have to do it. And he's very determined. Just as the way Arjuna was determined, when he was asked to focus on the eye of the bird. Right? Remember that? So Dhruva too was equally determined. So Narada Muni didn't want to really, press him too hard. And he said, okay, I will tell you how to attain how to attain Sri Vishnu, or how to get him to look at you. Though it's not needed, huh? God is in all our hearts. We all know that. But Dhruva was extremely determined to kind of, have him right in front of him. And probably those were the days when they could do that. Today, we don't have to do that. The moment you chant the Maha Mantra, you can feel the presence of God in everything that you do, because he will come to assist you through somebody. Bhagavan Manushya Rupena. He will always come and assist you in some form of the other. People ask, oh, why can't I see Vishnu the way Dhruva saw, Prahlad saw? Of course, yes. We will also see him just the same way as they did. But only through our focus, our concentration, and our love and devotion for him. So just remember that. These are things that happen in the Satyuga. So don't expect that to happen now, because in Kali Yuga, the only marga is through chanting the Maha Mantra. Okay. So what instructions he instructed Dhruva, they say. What do you think are the instructions that he gave Dhruva? Let's see if it is there in the next page. Otherwise, I'll tell you. Let me see what is the next in there. Okay. Can somebody read this? Someone who hasn't participated yet. Can someone read this?
Mataji can.
Kanishka, is it? Kanishka, you read something. Somebody else?
Mataji, can I read?
Yes, please.
Dhruva requested Narada Muni to advise him of an honest path to follow by which he could achieve his goal. Dhruva meditated as instructed by Narada Muni.
Exactly. So Narada Muni prescribed the Ashtayanga Yoga. Does anyone remember the Ashtayanga Yoga?
Yes.
Yeah? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. What are the various processes of the Ashtanga Yoga? Okay. So there was 8 steps that were prescribed as part of that. It's a wheel, remember? I think, if I continue to be part of your group, then, I will probably, bring back to your memories the old sessions that you did. So one is yamas, niyama, pratyahara, then pranayama, then dharana, dhyana, and then samadhi. So it's a very rigorous process of controlling all forms of, desires, all forms of, purifying the body through exercises and the right breathing control and technique. Because as and when you do that and excel in that, your focus and your dhyana improves, and then you get into a samadhi. So that's exactly what little Dhruva did. Okay. And what happens as he started to do that? 1 minute. As he began to do that, okay, what happened? Can somebody read this? Someone who hasn't done it so far. Somebody read this?
Yes, can
Yeah.
I read?
Yeah?
Hello, can I read?
Yeah? Read, go ahead.
Dhruva completely controlled his senses and their objects and fixed his mind upon the Supreme Lord.
Yeah. So Dhruva got into a stage of samadhi because he had excelled so much. What did he do? He kind of, through the process of Ashtayanga Yoga, he would cleanse his body in the Yamuna river. And after doing that, he was living on fruits, very, 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 the fruits that was available nearby. He did not go hunting too much into only eating. He went and, he would just eat basic fruits that were available. And then he was also practicing the art of, keeping his body fit, and as well as the breathing control. And slowly he improved his dhyana, or his capacity to focus and to keep his determination on his goal. And as he continued doing that, there was so much of fitness in his body, mind, and intellect that he completely forgot everything around him, and he got into this pose. This pose is called, what is this pose called in yoga? Anyone who practices yoga in this group?
Ekapadaasanam.
Ekapadasana or the Vrikshasana. He got into the Vrikshasana pose, and it's completely, he got into a trance. There was nothing that mattered to him. And he was so powerful in his prayers that everybody, all the planets around started getting choked. And all the Devis and the Devatas ran to Mahavishnu. They said, hey, Mahavishnu, there's something extraordinary happening, as because, his feet, he was drawing all the energy from the universe. And when he did that, there was so much of power that all the planets were getting, suffocated. Okay, so let's see what happens after this. Yeah, someone who hasn't read, I haven't, let me see. Vihan, have you read so far? Have you participated? Vihan?
Yes.
Yeah, Vihan, if you haven't participated, can you read Hare Krishna?
Due to Dhruva's interest in meditation, the living being felt suffocation. So the demigods took shelter of Lord Vishnu.
Yeah, so as I just said, Dhruva was drawing all the energy from the universe, and everybody ran to Lord Vishnu. And you know that everything emanates, all the Devis and Devatas all the names that we know, they're all part and parcel of Lord Vishnu. So they all went to take shelter, the shelter of Lord Vishnu. So let's see what happens. Yoshita Singh, can you read? Yoshita Singh?
On the plea of the demigods, the Lord Vishnu got on the back of Garuda, who carried him to the forest to see his servant Dhruva.
Yeah. So then what happened? You know who Garuda is? Garuda is the Vahan of Lord Vishnu. It's his transporter. So he gets on to Garuda and goes to the forest to see his servant. Why have we all called servant? Why have they mentioned in the story servant Dhruva?
Because we serve Lord Vishnu.
Yeah, we serve Lord Vishnu's, and all of us, we're all his subordinates because we're all a small speck of a soul. And you know the size of the soul, right? What is the size of a soul?
10,000 the tip of hair.
10,000 of a hair, tip of
Exactly.
the hair.
Exactly. We all belong to the Paramatma. Okay. So let's see what happens next. Then what happened? Dhruva saw his Lord just in front of him in the forest. And he was taken aback. The Lord came in the four-armed form. What is the four-armed form of the Lord called?
Paramatma.
Paramatma, exactly. As soon as he saw that, he just didn't know, he was spellbound. I'm sure it will happen to us. These kind of things happen to us very often. When something unexpected happens, we are completely we freeze. So Dhruva also froze because he's also just a living being. He froze when he saw what he saw. And what happens after that? Okay, who hasn't? Kartika, can you read this line?
Seeing Lord Vishnu, Dhruva immediately offered him obeisances and respect.
Exactly. So this is exactly what he did. While he was in the mode of passion, the moment he saw the Lord God, he knew what was there in front of him. While he froze, he also it just dawned upon him, hey, here is the Lord before me. And immediately he forgot everything and he completely prostrated before the Lord. Okay. Now, how often has it happened when you go to, you have a lot of desires. You want Lord to give you the best of, the clothes that you want. You always wanted a particular dress, a brand or something like that. Or you always wanted a certain book which you wanted your parents to buy for you. Or you always wanted to play a game that you loved very much and play it very well, that you win every tournament. How often has it happened that you went to the temple with all these desires and you said, hey, I'm going to place all this request to God? How often has it happened that when you go to before the altar, you forget everything? Does anyone have this experience? Anybody?
Yes.
Yeah. So what was your experience?
Actually, I wanted Bhagavad Gita book that time. It was lockdown time, so I had went to temple that time. I went to the temple with desires, but I forgot to ask something.
Exactly. So this happens, to all of us. And particularly when it comes to, whenever it happens with our prayers, and whenever it happens when we are loaded with these things and go to ask God, even it could be even in your own prayer corner in your house, you actually forget. That's the power of, what God has built around us. Because we are, as I told you, we are all as human beings good as it is. It's only, when we get exposed to Prakriti, when we get exposed to the various things around us, we can get conditioned by the various gunas. Otherwise, by our normal selves, we are all extraordinary human beings, extraordinary species in this earth. Okay. And this happens very often. So next time when you probably are praying, just notice what happens. Okay. This should happen to most of us, unless otherwise. So then what happens? And Dhruva's not asking anything. So who wants to read this?
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Lord Vishnu touched his conch shell to the forehead of Dhruva, who stood before him with folded hands.
Yeah. So what happens, Dhruva forgot everything. So Dhruva didn't know what to do. And actually speaking, when you read the Bhagavatam, it also says, Dhruva says, Dhruva completely, he gets immersed into the beauty of what he's seeing around him. And he says, hey, what more do I want in this life? I don't need anything more. Right? So now Lord Vishnu, he's eternal and he's knower of everything. He's Satchit Anand. He knows everything. So he knew what the condition of Dhruva. He knew what Dhruva came here for. So he touched him. Very often, we also kind of freeze and somebody just comes and gives us a nudge. So the Lord gave him a nudge with his conch shell. He says, hey, wake up, little boy. You came here with something in mind. So tell me, what is it that you want? So the moment when he nudged him, all his senses came back. So Dhruva's senses all came back, So all his memory rushed in. So then what happens after his memory rushes in? Yeah. Somebody wants to read? Go ahead, anyone.
At that time, Dhruva became perfectly aware of the absolute truth.
Yeah. So Dhruva came back to his normal senses, and he tells the Lord, "Hey Lord, there's nothing that I really want. I have seen you and I want to live in your world. I don't want to go back. I came here with a pack of things in my mind, but now I have nothing. I have no desire." But Lord Vishnu knows, as I said, he knew what he came in here for. He said, "No, my dear son, you want your father's kingdom and you shall get it because that's what you came here for. Okay, with your grit and determination, you will be a good ruler." So Lord says, "Go back to your father, to your parents, and to the kingdom." And somebody wants to read Shubrat Shetty?
Later, when King Uttanapada saw that Dhruva was suitably matured to take the charge of kingdom, he enthroned Dhruva as emperor. Dhruva Maharaj waged in battle against Yakshas for having killed his brother.
Yeah. So, once of course, Dhruva was sent back to the kingdom, and Uttanapada, accepts his son and realizes the folly, realizes the mistakes that he did. And after the death of King Uttanapada, Dhruva becomes the king. And Dhruva, it is said, he ruled this world for 36,000 years, because those were the days, Satyuga were the days when people lived in good health for many, 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 many years, unlike what we have here right now in Kali Yuga. So Dhruva was a great emperor, and he was known for all the good deeds that he did. Okay, he kind of vanquished all kinds of ills and evils that were there during his time, and he ruled well. Okay, and then what happens? Can somebody read this? Kanishka, you can read this.
Yes, Mataji.
Ah.
Dhruva Maharaj ruled over this planet for 36,000 years. In due course, Dhruva Maharaj retired to the forest and meditated on the Supreme Lord.
Yes. So he ruled for 36,000 years, and then afterwards took the sannyas. We have the Varnashrama. So he took the sannyas ashrama after doing all his duties, and then meditated upon the Supreme Lord. And what did he do? What happened at the time when his time to the end of his life on earth came about? A beautiful Vahan came and took him and his mother to the spiritual world. Okay, so this is a story, and the story is also very valid in our own lives. We must do our duties well, and we must do our duties in such a way that we are not bound and attached to them, like the way Dhruva was in the beginning. Dhruva realized his mistake and corrected it during the course of his life. Similarly, even as and when we do a mistake, reflect upon them, learn from it. That's what these scriptures teach us. So learn from these teachings and try and correct every day. Once you finish your day, go back, play back all the things that happened during that day. I'm sure there would have been a lot of good things, and equally there would have been certain things that you were not happy about. So reflect on them. What is it that made you unhappy? What is it that made you look at it very specifically? And what is it that you can learn from it? So catch those important aspects so that you don't repeat those mistakes again. So tell me, many of you have been attending these classes, the Bhagavad Gita sessions you attended for 18 days, and now you've started with the Radha Govinda school. So what kind of changes have happened in your life? Have you made any changes to any of your habits? Anybody?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, what changes has come about in you?
I used to wake up very late. Now I wake up at 4:30 for Mangalarti, then study Bhagavad Gita, then read my school, then do online class.
Wow, excellent. So do you feel there is a lot of energy in you now because you getting
Yes,
up at dawn? Yeah, getting up at dawn is the best time. It's the best time to read. It's the best time to to offer your prayers, because the whole world is silent during that time, and therefore all the energies in the world are available to you. That's the significance of waking up at dawn. Okay. Anyone else?
Yes, Mataji, I've been praying more now.
Okay. And is it helping you?
Yes, it makes me more concentrated.
And what is the difference that your parents and your friends see in you?
I'm more self-controlled.
Very nice. That's excellent. Excellent. That shows a sign of maturity. You're really getting into the stages of having control over yourself, and it reflects. It's like what you see yourself in a mirror. It just reflects. It shows to the people around you. Okay. It makes you more confident of what you set out to doing for yourself. And who else? Anyone else wants to share a story? Wants to share an experience? Okay, so let me tell you my own experience. You all are all lucky that you all are getting into this at a very early age. And I too was, when I was a child, when I was a little girl myself, my parents used to send me to Balavihar. It was those days conducted by Ramakrishna Mission in Calcutta, where I stayed. And we used to learn all the stories from the Bhagavad Gita and as well as the Panchatantra. And it really made a huge difference to who we were becoming. And we never strayed away from the qualities of goodness. Okay. It helps us to remain sturdy. Okay. We may not have become, we did not go out to become great people, that normally the world would hear of. But in our own sphere of life and in our own communities, we withstood the things, and we earned respect from people. We did not demand, we earned respect. I think that's what is important. Okay. So be on this path. As you grow older, have a copy of the Bhagavad Gita, have a copy of the Bhagavatam. Continue reading these, because it will be a reminder. See, in a human brain needs to be constantly reinforced. To constantly reinforce yourself of all these things. Listen to people who are probably telling you these stories. It will constantly keep you engaged on the path of goodness. Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So after this, we have a few things I will probably tell you. There's an assignment here for those of you who want to do it. Please do it. It'll be good, because it kind of relieves you from your stress and strain. So I'm going to stop the live stream so that all of us can participate with our videos on. So Hare Krishna until we meet next week, next Sunday.